responses. But it's interesting that he's on the record. So he just responded about an hour ago, I'm all for this. So is pretty much everyone I know on the right. If the left doesn't believe me, there's probably countless tweets, interviews, and my Triggered podcast to refer to. This seems more like a universal to most Americans I've spoken to.
Yes.
That is the president's son and very influential, saying, yes, we would like to do the dream that left-wing populists have had for decades. Cut the Pentagon, conflict of interest rules, and then more recently, free Edward Snowden. Guys, take yes for an answer, okay? So he had one more comment. He said, only contention I know of would come from the establishment on both sides.
Yep.
Permanent Washington likely does not like a lot of this.
Correct. But they're not in charge at the moment, right? Well,
yeah.
At the very moment, they kind of are, but you get the point.
Wow. So this is, guys, the President Donald Trump Jr., President Donald Trump's son talking about the situation. He feels that, like, wow, he agrees with the left that we should cut the Pentagon and do everything with the defense contractors so that they don't make tons of money. So it's a pretty good news. I just want to ask you guys, who do you think is going to win? I think that's what the debate is about. I don't know if you guys look at it like that. I think it is about that. So basically the debate in the political debate right now that's going on the left is that there's a debate of who's going to win this battle. So basically Cenk is putting a bet on the right-wing populists, right? He's putting a bet on the right-wing populists. He thinks there's a vibrant right-wing populist that's available. He thinks like there's something there that we can work with, that the left-wing populists can work with the right-wing populists. Many people on the right wing are very skeptical of that. They don't think it's gonna work out. They don't think there's anything there. They believe that there's no such thing as a right wing populist. You being fool. You acting like a sucker. And I'm gonna show you a couple of clips of that. There's a couple of different people, especially Crystal Ball. And they have a very good take on why. It's not like they don't know their analysis is wrong. They have very, very good reason why they are on the skeptical side. Let's look at one situation when you come to Trump populism. There's some people on the left wing call it how they call it. It's like imagination. It's not. It's an illusion. The Trump populism, because it's not real to them. There's one thing that proves that Trump is not going to be a real populist is that Trump is going to fire the head of the FTC, Miss Lina Khan. Lina Khan is the head of the FTC, and this is a woman that's like anti-monopoly, corporation abusing the workers, a corporation trying to monopolize and having some sort of contract where they are like profiting but not giving back. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So she's trying to Lina Khan is like a hero for the left. And Trump said the first thing he's going to do is fire her. He's going to get rid of her. So Trump is for the big business and monopoly. He already showed you that. So he's telling you that on the first day he's going to get rid of Lina Khan. So that's a very bad thing. So now Cenk has to work with that. What is that about? If you're a populist, why would you want to fire Lina Khan? But there's many people on the right, many people are independent voters like me. I believe that the Lina Khan situation is a little bit different. Lina Khan was very aggressive. A little bit too aggressive. For me, I want to explain to you the way I look at business and monopoly. Okay, right now I need to study about it more, what Lina Khan has done. But from what I've seen is she also has targeted companies that she targeted many companies, and a lot of her lawsuit, when she's trying to stop them from when she's trying to stop a couple of businesses from mergers and acquisition, when she stopped them, when she tried to stop them, the judges decided not to go with her. She was not successful at it, but she kept on trying at every case. So she's like a pit bull. She's going after everybody, right? And there are winners and there are losers. So that's the story of Lina Khan, and I feel like there's a lot of things that she takes upon herself when she goes after those businesses that, hey, like, and the business community are like, why are you being so aggressive? And like, many people say that, she's the most aggressive FTC. Like a lot of people in the business community, they are saying that about her. So the fact that Trump, the fact that Trump got rid of her does not mean that Trump is not going to take care of the what most voters want. I personally don't think so. But the left, they take, that's what it means. I think Lina Khan was a little bit too aggressive. That's my position a little bit on her. I think we need somebody that's like a little bit more pro business than Lina Khan, but not too pro business. It's like we have to strike the right balance, because a lot of her cases also of Lina Khan, they were struck down. They were not like approved. But she just had a win lately. I forgot what win she had. She just won a case against a company. I forgot which company. I'm going to tell you which one real quick. Hold on. Okay, yeah, so I couldn't find it, but there was like a victory that she just had lately on Lina Khan. So the victory that happened was between Kroger and Albertson. So those are the two major retailers for grocery. And Kroger and Albertson was about to merge, and the deal fell apart. So there was a deal that was made, and the deal fell. So Lina Khan was able to, as the head of the FTC, was able to block that merger between Kroger and Albertson, and the deal fell apart. And this was a major win. And many people are saying that Lina Khan is going out with a bang because Donald Trump is going to get rid of her. So basically, that's where we are. Okay.
Donald Trump to win. I fought super hard against it because he's that bull in a china shop, and I'm worried about some parts of that china shop, like our Constitution, our democracy, etc. But I am weirdly optimistic and hopeful now after the election, not because I'm happy that Trump won, but because the establishment is defeated. And the establishment is immovable. And they never would free Edward Snowden. They would never cut the Pentagon. They never do. They would never have conflict of interest rules because they think, oh my God, if we do it for the generals, maybe they're going to think about doing it for the politicians. And the politicians, oh my God, how would I feed my family if I can't make millions of dollars after I retired being a lobbyist and a consultant and all these things? So, look, here they are. Now, this is the second time Donald Trump Jr. has responded and said yes. And when I go on the shows, guys, it's not like I'm making them agree or this is the first time they heard about it. They're like, oh, maybe. No, as he's saying here, we've been for this. You guys weren't listening.
Okay, Cenk, I have to say something. And look, no one knows for sure. No one knows for sure because no one was in any of those rooms where Trump allegedly said very naughty things. But the generals hated Trump. They always hated Trump. Trump wanted to pull out of Afghanistan. They didn't want to pull out of Afghanistan. So all of the stories quoting, military generals who had meetings with Trump, closed door meetings, and Trump allegedly said all of these naughty things, I don't know what to believe because it's a he said, she said type situation.
So I think I hear you that it's mixed, but it's definitely not mixed, okay? I mean, it's definitely not clear in Trump's favor.
No, I agree. Like, we don't know. But like everyone just takes what the generals say at face value.
But I don't. So like there's things that people that have said, generals included, where I go, that one doesn't sound credible.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like him. I mean, on the Steele dossier, we were instantly like, that doesn't sound like Trump at all. Right? So we built up a lot of credibility on calling stuff as it is. Some of the things the general said sounded very credible. Okay, now again, we could all agree, disagree. They're not anonymous anymore. They're saying it on the record, but we weren't in the room. Okay, fine. But Trump did do some things that weren't just quote unquote naughty. They were,
No, the things he did actually did. He carried out actions that obviously were wrong, and we've talked about that and we've disagreed with what he did. I'm just saying, Trump has always been, I don't know about his entire life, but in terms of his role in...
I think it's a very interesting take that Anna and Kasperi and Cenk are taking. I think it's very interesting because it's like, I do agree with them that like we have to, and I even say that to my friend. It's like to a lot of my friends, they say like Trump might surprise us, he might shock us, Trump might trump everything. I keep saying that Trump might trump everything, he might overcome everything. But I did not want to vote for him because I was kind of scared because I saw January 6th. But he might shock us. But I felt like it was too much of a gamble, and for me to vote for him. But like, but I'm waiting. It's like there's a scripture in the Bible that say wait and see. I think Trump is a wait and see guy. Trump is the most mysterious human being I ever seen in my life. Like for example, this is what I'm saying. Like when I look at Hitler or Stalin or all those awful people in the world, they're not mysterious. You know what they are about. You know what Hitler is about. You know what Stalin is about. You know what Putin is about. But nobody really fully know what Trump is about. I hate to say that he's not a clear-cut guy. There's always a case that you can make for the other side for him. So basically, that's where we are. I'm gonna show you a video of like how the left doesn't trust Trump at all. This is interesting. Like you got to see this. like
Both sides said definitively, according to our internal numbers, it was fucking devastating, right? So like, that's not the number one reason. As I said
Right,
there,
but I think the thing for me is you have to ask the deeper question of like, okay, why did that ad hurt? Because why did that ad hurt? Because Bernie has the same position on.
so we're talking about the ad about transgender. So many people, analysts, are looking at the ad about the transgender, where Kamala Harris said that she will have taxpayer pay for transgender surgery in jail. So many people feel like that ad heard after they studied the ad was incredibly popular. So many people like the ad. But Crystal Boy is saying that the only reason why the ad works was Kamala Harris was a weak candidate. But this is the way I look at it, and she's saying that Bernie would have done better. That ad would have hurt Bernie too. It would have hurt Kamala. So what Cenk is saying, if something hurt, so why not hide it? It's okay to hide it. Like you don't have to go all over you don't have to go or you don't have to go over it and then not like you don't have to not hide it. You can hide it. It's okay to hide an ad. And I also believe, guys, I understand this is gonna sound a little bit weird. I think it's okay to because politicians are full of lies. You can buy them pardons. I think it's okay to not maybe not lie, but say that you change your mind. You could say that no, I wouldn't definitely not pay for surgery. This is during the election campaign, and you say that, and then when they say, oh yeah, I changed my mind, I had an evolution. What is wrong with having an evolution? I don't understand why the politician cannot do that. You can do that. You can say that, yeah, I changed my mind. I'm sorry, I did not understand it fully, but now I'm for transgender. After you win the election, you could do that, and I don't care. It's doable.
Transgender issues. But that ad would not work against Bernie. Okay. And the reason is because
that ad would work against Bernie. Bernie did not win, by the way. Bernie never won. You know what I'm saying? It will work against Bernie. Those people, they keep putting Bernie on a pedestal. It would definitely work against Bernie. It would hurt him a little bit, definitely. Maybe not as deep as Kamala, but it would definitely hurt him. So what Jake is saying, you don't want to have an ad like that defending transgender surgery for cellmate that are immigrant. You don't want to have you don't want to support a position like that, even for Bernie, because that's still going to take off a couple of points from him. Maybe not to win the election, but maybe also to win the election. And why do you want a tight election? You want to have a landslide, kind of like what Trump did.
he actually, like, people are not going to be confused that Bernie Sanders' top priority is fighting against rich people, fighting for you. Yeah. They're not going to be confused about that. So you're right. If you're running a Kamala Harris, that ad's going to be a fucking problem for her because she doesn't really stand for anything. Yeah, and so people can be very easily convinced that, like, oh, she cares about a bunch of bullshit that I don't support and I don't care about. But if you have a candidate who has a story that can compete with the left populist story and narrative and credibility of actually fighting for those things, then you can carry some cultural issues that, may not be that popular.
So you could do the Hassan strategy if you, and I agreed with him, and that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
If you have actual policies, like you were saying.
That's right.
So because then you could say, hey, this is a distraction from $15 minimum wage and universal health care, et cetera. But Kamala couldn't say it's a distraction from anything because she doesn't believe in anything.
That's right.
Right? So that's why I was saying the ad was a perfect combination of what was wrong with the corporate Democrats and the extreme left. Because the corporate Democrats stripped her of any real substance to run on, right? Yeah. So then all that was left was the extreme left positions that she took on into 2020, right? Yeah. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with it. I don't think you can say, like, the ad didn't matter at all. But I think it's important to understand why she was vulnerable to that ad and a Bernie Sanders or an Andy Bashir would be.
But I'll tell you, so I agree with all that. I will say that I think Bernie 2020 was more susceptible to it than Bernie 2016.
Agreed. Yeah. So we've been talking here to Cenk Uygur, obviously, of TYT and many other wonderful distinctions as well. But lucky to have you in studio today. And we, started talking and recording, so we'll just include that front part in the conversation as well. Great to have you.
All right. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
I'll give you the official welcome now. So you've been making a lot of waves.
Yeah, I love to make waves.
You've been stirring the pot, sir.
That's what I am. I'm a pot stirrer.
Yes. And I was telling you, Kyle and I both enjoyed Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We were listening to it on the way back from New York. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is I want to get into the stuff with you and Elon, and Bernie's chimed in there, and your sort of general approach to the Trump administration, which, tell me if I'm wrong, feels different than how you approached things in 2016. We can talk a little bit more about that. And kind of emblematic of that, if you guys could put Cenk's tweet up on the screen, and we can use this as a jumping off point. So you said, I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election, even though I was so against the guy who won. I know now MAGA is not my mortal enemy, neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated. So there's a few pieces of this that I have some questions about. But I guess just off the top, I think you and I both think that Trump is a fascist. In fact, I think we both argue with our co-hosts about this rather memorably. What makes you optimistic now that we have the fascist headed back to the White House?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. So number one, why did I call him a fascist? I'm very clear on this, right? Because he did a fake elector plot to overthrow the Democratic elections in 2020, right? And he set to terminate the Constitution afterwards. A lot of right-wingers don't know that. Like when I read him that quote, they're like, no, really? And then they read it and they can't believe it. That's because he doesn't care about democracy, doesn't care about the Constitution, et cetera, right? So I have those same exact concerns. Those concerns have not left. But the one thing that happened in this election was that he won the popular vote. And I noticed right-wingers switching from, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, right? To let's go democracy.
Suddenly free and fair elections exist, right?
And suddenly they're in favor of democratic elections. So great, wonderful. Because my number one concern is that he's not going to leave office. I'm less concerned about that now, okay? So maybe I'm wrong about that, and if I'm naive about that, then I'll own up to it, et cetera.
Let me just say, though, so for me personally, yes, I continue to be somewhat concerned he won't leave office. But my issue with the fake electors plot and all of the things that he tried to pull during that time is that it was indicative of, an attitude.
Cenk, Hugo's going to reveal to everybody now what is the new brick in the car for right-wing populism. That's very important. Right-wing populism is there, and there's a new brick in the car that's going to, prevent Trump from going all crazy and all dictatorial. I believe the new brick in the car is that there's a characteristic of Trump that people don't understand. Trump, I think Cenk said that he likes to be loved, and the fact that the electorate got bigger, he wants those people to like him, so he's gonna do what they love. You know what I'm saying? So let's listen to Cenk now.
A limb, okay, is right-wing populist. So, I can see you're grimacing, okay?
Listen, I am, the show I do, right? And I love soccer. And, but I am also very skeptical that that movement has significant sway or influence with Trump. Go ahead, make your case.
Okay, so I think that's wrong. So, number one, there's a different MAGA base than in 2016. The 2016 MAGA base was Trump is demigod. Whatever Trump says is by definition brought down to us from the heavens and will never be, challenged. So I had no interest in that base, right? And it was filled with old school Republicans, some establishment guys, but not that many, but still they were hanging in there. Then they had the religious guys who were like, let's go kill everyone in the Middle East so Jesus can come back and stuff.
Like Huckabee.
Yeah, but those guys have lost a lot of power within that base. So now within the right-wing base.
Pete Hegseth, sorry, I'll let you finish, but Pete Hegseth, Mike Huckabee,
no, I know,
Mike Waltz.
But Crystal, Huckabee is Team Miriam, right? So she's the one.
He's Team End Times.
Okay, yeah, I know. So Miriam Adelson got Marco Rubio, Stefanik, Huckabee, and Walz in. Those are all neocons, war hawks.
Hegseth too.
Yeah, and Hegseth with kill all the Muslims. I mean, I'm not unclear about that.
Yeah.
And I know that in a lot of ways I'm in the crosshairs, right? But don't discount the bros, okay? So the bros have brought in a huge new part of his base. And don't discount the moderates that are so sick of the Democratic Party that they flipped over the moderates independents to Trump. And they're not looking to deport every human being in America that isn't, evangelical Christian. They're not looking, the bros don't even agree on abortion with the Republican Party, right? So when you talk about Joe Rogan and Portnoy and all those guys, we have our disagreements with them, no question, right?
Yeah.
But those guys are breaking the car. If let's say they do what one of Trump's potential picks was threatening to do, which is deport and denaturalize and arrest Mehdi Hasan, right? That's a specific threat that one of the potential appointees had, right?
Who said that?
I think Mike Davis.
Okay.
So he was being considered for Attorney General. And so, by the way, good news, he didn't pick him, but Kash Patel says things like that, Hegseth says things like that. I think if they go to do that, and this is where people you got me on tape, you'll say, Cenk was so naive. That's when I think the Rogans of the world will come out and go, what are you doing? Really? I thought we were against cancel culture. I thought we were for freedom. You don't agree with Mehdi Hassan's position on Israel, so we're going to denaturalize him, a thing that doesn't even exist? No, I think
that didn't before. And so I feel sort of, I guess what I relate to in your tweet is I would say I feel energized because there is a possibility that wasn't there, that is there now. I think the most likely outcome is that things continue to get worse. That's why I don't feel optimistic, because what I see over the next 4 years is you're probably going to have, a lot of cruelty towards immigrants. You're likely to have, another inflationary spiral. If he does, half of the tariffs he's talking about, you could very easily have more chaos in the Middle East. We're already seeing it, more brutality in the Middle East. That's almost certainly going to happen. We could have some giant crypto bubble as possible, avian flu. There's all kinds of things that I think could be horrible and brutal over the next 4 years. And I can't look at that. I would love to feel optimistic that, there's going to be a light at the end of the rainbow. And like I said, I do feel energized, but optimistic is just not, I would love to be there, but I'm not.
So let me agree and disagree. Okay. So first of all, I agree with your facts. So when we're talking about online media, are the Russians involved? Are there fracking billionaires that are financing shows?
Yeah.
Billionaire X and Billionaire Y, and do some of those shows totally serve those interests?
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're reading the ads themselves.
Yeah.
So there's not even the appearance of an arm's length distance from the advertisers and the money.
I get all that and I grant all that. Okay, so why then, given those facts, I'm
Yeah.
more optimistic about online media than mainstream media? Because mainstream media is a prison. And it's a prison in the past you could not break out of. There's guardrails. You are not allowed to say things outside those guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot talk about how the donors obviously control all the politicians. Obviously. You cannot talk about how Israel obviously controls Washington and Washington's occupied territory. It's so obvious. But if you say you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, I hate that prison. I despise that prison of lies that is establishment media. Okay? So now in online media, yeah, you got the Russians, you got this, you got wild and woolly, crazy stuff, you got people I disagree with on the extreme left, on the extreme right. It's a mess in online media, and I love it. Okay? That's the jungle. But Crystal, that's our jungle. Okay, so we started this jungle at the Young Turks, and Breaking Points and the Young Turks are in those same woods.
Right.
Oh, in the woods, we have to fight off the right, the left, the middle, the Russians, the Israelis, the Saudis, etc. Yeah, that's the woods, baby.
Right.
But we were born in those woods.
I mean,
that's
I
freedom.
hear you, Cenk. I've seen too much. I mean, you know what the incentives are. Like the incentives are to feed the algorithm, the incentives are to feed your audience, whatever they want to hear. The incentives are to be, ever more in your own bubble. And a lot of the incentives are the same, like access-driven ones and corruption-driven ones as the mainstream press. There's a reason why you and I didn't get interviews with Kamala Harris, because she knows we would ask her some tough questions.
Of
right?
course.
There's a reason.
Who gives a damn about getting interviewed with Kamala Harris?
I'm just saying.
Oh, I am Kamala Harris.
People,
I'm not interested in interviewing a corporate robot anyway.
But Cenk, my point is that a lot of people do care about that, which is why so much of right-wing media is just like, basically sucking off Trump and whatever he says and towing the line, because they want to maintain that access. They want to maintain, their funding and their money, and they want to feed their audience whatever they want to be fed. And so again, there's a possibility here, and I don't want to quash that. I think it's really important, and it excites me. In the same respect, like I'm clear-eyed about.
This is why I kind of like Crystal in comparison to everybody else. It's like she's not like crashing the idea of like, hey, there's a possibility here. Of course, I will love this. So this is how somebody love the country. It's when they understand that, yo, you know what I'm saying? So if you see somebody like they don't want to hear that idea at all, that means they don't like the country. They only like themselves. It's all about the ego. But if somebody tells you, hey, I would love that to happen, if that is true, yo, I'm jumping on that bandwagon 100%. But she basically saying I'm clear-eyed about everything. I don't want to be naive and fall prey to somebody like him. And I think I can understand that mindset. I can understand it. Yeah.
What a cesspool a lot of independent media, frankly, is at this point. And so there's, I guess, a caution that I have about it as
Crystal,
well.
Nobody knows that better than me, right? We've been doing this for 22 years.
I know, that's
right?
what I'm saying.
So we started when the internet was a nice place. That's how old we are, okay? So longest running show in internet history, first YouTube partner, you know all that, right?
Yeah.
So my point is that I have gone through all of those different things, and I'm perfectly aware of that. I'm not at all naive about it.
I know,
right?
yeah.
But let me ask you a question back.
Okay.
You and I both worked at MSNBC.
Yeah.
So we've worked in establishment media.
Yeah.
We've worked online media.
Yeah.
What do you prefer?
Oh, definitely online media.
See?
But I'll tell you, Cenk, we've made some very specific decisions here, which is we don't do that. We will never talk to an advertiser. We don't do ad reads. We, have tried to intentionally create our business to avoid as much as possible, and we're still human beings, but as much as possible, some of the, the pressures, the incentives, et cetera, that I think have led to, most of the media ecosystem being not that great. And I think, that's, I know you guys have made some of those choices in your own ways, not exactly the same ones that we have, but most people, like, the money's green, and, they want me to read this ad for, like, the ball coddlers or whatever it is, and I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to look into that product, and if later down the road there's some problem with the product, I'm not going to cover it, because then I'm going to have a problem with my funders. Like, I think because we've made some specific decisions here, it has given us a lot of freedom, but I don't necessarily see those same incentives, playing out across all of independent media, which has created, as much as I would love for us to be the model for everyone, that's not the reality of most of what exists out there.
Yeah, but so, Crystal, I agree with you on all of that. Again, stipulate to all the facts, right? But at least we've got a fighter's chance in online media. Yeah. And what has our...
I think that's the bottom line. I think like the mainstream media, like Jake is saying, it's kind of like it's almost like the mainstream media is kind of like they are tied up with the establishment. They are very tied up with the establishment, but the online media, there's a little bit of an opening. You can play a little game a little bit. You have access to those people. The person might read an ad, might not read an ad. The mainstream media, they have to be in connection with big business and the establishment. They have to be connected with that. The mainstream media cannot survive without like big time corporation and the establishment. They have to stay connected. You see what I'm saying? So that's what
it's shown. TYT is an out. Right?
Yeah.
It's shown that when you buck all the tides and you don't take the obvious money, you don't serve those corporate interests, and you get attacked by every side imaginable, right? Establishment, right wing, left wing, everyone has attacked us.
Yeah.
And yet we're still the largest. So now that's not to just to brag or anything. There's a real point in there, which is, yes, but the audience values the truth. And so as difficult as it is day to day, oh, somebody lied about you, you lost a part of your audience. So someone else lied about you, you lost a part of your audience. But you still keep going and going and going. And those guys, they all fall off. They all fall off.
Daily Wire is way bigger than us, and they're propagandists.
Yeah, but Daily Wire has gotten an enormous amount of money from corporate interest,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
So, but Crystal, that's in the short run. No, that's in the short run.
I mean, that's
but Crystal, I'm
just
also a
like
business
new
person.
establishment media. I mean, they're not bucking the system, right? They're just a new version on a different platform of effectively Fox News.
I know, but Crystal, I'm a business person, and I can see that those models are unworkable in the long run. Basically, what the right-wing billionaires are doing is they have a marketing budget, right? And their marketing budget goes to things like other right-wing media, right? Online right-wing media. And I get it, and that's a big reservoir of money the left doesn't have at all, right? And so it's so ironic when they're like, Soros controls everything. Have you guys checked into how right-wing media gets financed, okay? Let alone the fact that Soros hasn't helped us a dime, right? As far as I don't know about you guys, but not us,
definitely.
right? And so I get all that, but they don't have margins. It's not a real business, okay? It's not a real business if you have to rely on, as Dennis Prager does, $23 million a year from right-wing billionaires, right? That's just a short-term marketing operation. Whereas building a real business where people actually value what you're doing, value the truth, that is sustainable in the long run, and we've proven that.
Yeah.
So look, the last thing on Trump in terms of why.
And then I want to talk. And then I want to talk some about Elon. If you don't.
No, I don't mind at all. But like
right?
on why I'm not despondent as I was in 2016. Okay. So there's the right-wing base, but there's one other thing with Trump. He loves being popular. So you got to get one decent person in the room to show him how to be popular. Because I don't think he knows how. He's just grasping at straws. He's blind, right? He keeps doing A/B testing. He's like, okay, what's more popular, being pro-immigrant or anti-immigrant? He did that like back in 2015. He went on a radio tour.
Dude, I want to hear what Crystal say about that. This is the big one. It's just Trump likes to be popular. That's a very big one. Let's hear what Crystal got to say about that.
Like pro-immigrant? No, that's not. Okay, anti-immigrant. Oh yeah, okay, people like that, right?
Yeah.
So, but paid family leave is popular
because his administration has largely been filled with, almost with a few exclusions. I think the labor secretary is a notable one, but with almost all like sort of right-wing ideologues. And number two, I guess part of what I'm grappling with as well is if you go down the list of issues, I'm all for a horseshoe, and I think there are some areas there, work with Josh Hawley or work with, used to be Marco Rubio actually was kind of interesting on some of the economic stuff. Like Matt Gaetz also was interesting on some of the economic stuff. All for horseshoe, working with elected representatives, et cetera. But if you go down the list, I think you and I are mostly ideologically in the same place. I'm sure we have some differences, but I think we're by and large ideologically in the same place.
Yep.
If I go down a list, I am on almost every issue closer to the Kamala Harris Democrat than I am to the Donald Trump Republican, whether it's healthcare or wages or labor or any of these things. And so that's what's a little bit like dissonant for me is, if we're caring about the policy outcomes, I think I'm much more likely to get improvement, not the things we would want, like Medicare for all, but much more likely to get improvement on the policy outcomes that I would want to see from a Kamala Harris. So react to that, but also, like, are you saying that you're actively happy that Trump beat her at this point?
No, but what I was going to say is, since I agree with you ideologically that I'm closer to the theoretical Kamala Harris positions, that's why I voted for Kamala Harris instead of Donald Trump. And I'm worried that Donald Trump, again, never called him a Nazi, never called him Hitler, but fascist is another word for authoritarian, right? And so, I'm worried that Donald Trump's an authoritarian, so that's why I voted, and he said to terminate the Constitution. That's why I voted for Kamala Harris. Okay, so now having said that, now that he has won, right, I would have preferred an actual populist instead of what I view to be a fake populist, right? But now that he has won.
I see what Cenk is saying, and I think we should give him a little bit of grace on what he's saying. You got to work with what you got. You got to work with what you don't want to live in a dreamland of like, you know what I'm saying? Let's see what I can do. Let's see if I can create a Donald Trump that is better for America. I think that's okay to say that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Maybe not, you might fail, but you got to fight. Life is a fight. You never give up. And I personally would think that the way I look at the left, you basically saying that you give up. You got to fight, okay? This is the way I look at what Jake is saying. I personally believe, I understand a little bit what Jake is saying. I don't think Jake should have gone and say it like that at all. I think Jake should say that I want to change my political framework totally. The way I look at politics is this. This is my president. This is the better version of my president that I want to go. I'm going to vote for that guy. I'm going to support that guy. If he lost, then I have to work with the Republican to try to influence them also. Because if a Republican candidate become president, you cannot just throw the towel and say that, hey, let me go home and go to bed and I'll see you in 4 years. You got to just fight and fight and fight and see if you can change his view a little bit or change the Republican view a little bit so that they can pass policies that you like. That's what I think. That's what I feel like what Jake is saying.
One, there is a tiny ray of hope that did not exist in the establishment prison.
Okay. I hear that.
So last thing on that is I'll give you a specific example. Paid family leave. Is Trump likely to do it? No, of course not, right? So, and was Kamala Harris going to do it? No, of course not, okay? No, there's
I think you had a better
percentage.
chance with her then.
No, I totally disagree. That's why I disagree. The establishment never wavers. They will do what corporate donors tell them, not 99% of the time, 100% of the time.
That's not true.
It is 100%.
But Cenk, I can give you
I will debate you on any issue.
I'll give you some specific examples from the Biden administration,
Okay,
which is
can't wait.
antitrust, Lena Khan.
Yeah.
Right? The Wall Street Journal hated him for that. The billionaires hated him for that. I mean, that was a big pressure campaign they put on Kamala Harris to make sure she got rid of Lena Khan. So that he was the most pro-labor president we've had in our lifetimes.
That is the lowest bar there is.
Of course, but these are two areas where the donors did not want this, right? And his National Labor Relations Board, the General Counsel, Jennifer Abruzzo, genuinely sort of revolutionary in her approach. And they ended captive audience meetings, for one example. A lot of the decisions she made helped to enable this grassroots labor organizing surge. And so, that was a break from neoliberalism. Now, he has destroyed any possible positive legacy with genocide in Gaza and all kinds of other things besides, and being so arrogant, not getting out of the way, et cetera. But he did break with what the billionaires wanted and what the donors wanted in a few key areas. And I think we are that is not going to happen with Trump. Trump has already handed so much government promise to help us transition to Elon Musk with this Doge thing. I mean, Elon is not only the richest man on the planet, but he also has massive multi-billions of dollars in government contracts. He's one of the Pentagon's largest contractors. And whether it's Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or whoever, I, as a matter of principle, object to rule by billionaires, rule by unelected billionaires. And this is like the most clear manifestation of that I've ever seen.
So for Biden and
Cenk described the Democrat Biden as like sometimes they give you 5 to 10% of what you want, so that it's like a release valve, so that you can so that there's no revolution against them, against the Democratic Party. But like I don't know if that works perfectly. I don't know if that statement really defends what Trump believes. Because when you think about it, are you saying that Trump is going to give us a little bit more than the Democrat when it comes to release valve? I personally think the Cenk position is not about that. I think the Cenk position, I think he's not explaining his position well. I think he should say that his position is like this right now. So basically, you and I've repeated that, and I'm going to repeat it again, because the way he explains his position, it's almost like he's saying that like he feels like he can get more out of Trump. You cannot get more out of Trump, but you can create a better Trump. Like, that's what you should say. Of course, Kamala probably would have been better, closer to you, and you would probably get a lot better from Kamala. But the way I look at Trump is like, let's say with Kamala, you were shooting for 25% Democratic agenda to pass. With Trump, you might get 15% if you fight. But if you don't fight and you throw in the tower, then you might get like 1%. So we're trying to get 15%. If we get 15%, we should be happy. And I think we should try to do that when we have Republican president, because they are our president still,
Promise.
But how many Democrats supported the PRO Act and how many Republicans?
No, but that's my point. That's my point. Crystal, those Democrats are liars. They don't actually support the PRO Act. They don't act.
Yeah, but at least they say it. That's what Crystal is saying. They say that they support the PRO Act. But the Republicans, they don't even say that,
Actually support any of those policy positions. Giant, enormous liars. So you saw it on $15 minimum wage. Oh, we're for $15 minimum wage. And Joe Biden's like, get it out of the goddamn bill, right? He said in the first interview in the Super Bowl, he said, oh, no, we can't do $15 minimum wage. Why? And I remember talking to people in Congress saying, oh, Cenk, what are you worried about? It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Nancy Pelosi told us it's guaranteed, right? And what did we do? We forced a vote on it. And what happened? 8 sellout Democratic senators voted against the $15 minimum wage, including the 2 Biden senators.
And how many Republicans voted against
No, but Crystal, I stipulate that the Republicans are totally corrupt.
But are you? Because it seems like you're saying that you're more likely to get like something real out of them than you are out of the Democrats. And look, I'm clear.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, Cenk is not making his case well. He's not making the case well. That's not what you're saying. I think what Cenk should say is that it's not that like I believe in the Republican more than the Democrat. Is that I'm willing to work with the Republican to get some Democratic agenda, some left-wing agenda, and I'm going to work with them. I'm going to get a little bit of it. It might not be 25%, but it might be 5% or 10%. Something like that.
Clear-eyed about the Democrats. I've been plenty critical of them in their many failings, but I just don't think that's true. And part of it is that Democrats get significant funding from labor unions, and that's a part of their coalition. And so that's part of why they have been more. I mean, they have just the Biden administration in particular was pretty consistently pro-labor, and I think they deserve. I think they deserve some credit for that. And
we had to drag him to the picket line, and he finally makes it to a picket line. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, a Democrat didn't lie 100% of the time." I'm not trying to say the Democrats
are perfect, but Donald Trump is a strikebreaker. Like he went to Elon Musk and was like, "Isn't that awesome how you fired these striking workers?"
But Crystal,
he has been a union buster his entire career. His first NLRB as labor secretary were horrendous.
So what Crystal is saying is true. And there's nothing Cenk can say about that. This is where Christo and Kyle Kolensky are right. Don't tell me that you're gonna get more out of Trump. Tell me that you can make Trump better. Then that's what I think Cenk is trying to say. Like, and I think Cenk is like he's too spontaneous. And I think when he says stuff, he says stuff out of his own feelings. Oh, I'm more optimistic than the Democrat. I don't think that's what you're trying to say. I think you try to say, hey, maybe the Trump administration might not be as terrible as what we think is gonna be if we fight for it. Maybe that's what you trying to say, especially in his second term. And also, we might be able to do something that the Democratic Party might not be able to do because Trump is like a fake populist. Maybe that's what he's trying to say. I don't think he's expressing. I personally think the problem with Jake in this video is that he's not expressing himself clearly. You gotta express yourself clearly. Are you saying that the out of the Trump administration you're gonna get more things done that are left wing? Is that what you're saying? Because that means that if you're saying that means that you're a Republican, or that means that you totally believe in Trump. So you cannot say stuff like that. So you gotta make sure that what you say is correct. Like I don't know what he mean by that. Like yeah, he has to be careful like how he says that. Yeah, like yeah.
It kind of feels like you are.
No. Look, let's be super clear about it.
Yeah.
Right? So if you say to me, establishment Republicans suck, I agree 200%. But the Republican populist base that elected Trump did a revolution against Mitch McConnell. Did a revolution against that
because he was
establishment.
anti-Trump, not because of his corporate whatever.
Okay.
Trump has the biggest corporate tax cut.
Yeah. Wow, Cristo is dropping some bombs here. Cristo is dropping some bombs here, man. Cristo is dropping some bombs. Like, I hate to say this, like, that is true. The Republican base fought against Mitch McConnell. That is true, okay, fought against McConnell. Not because of anything policy. It was because Mitch McConnell went against Trump. The Republican base fought against Mike Pence just because, it's not because Mike Pence's policy was like good. It was because Mike Pence went against Trump. So everything is about Trump. Trump is the policy. That's what's going on in the Republican base. Is the policy. What is the Trump policy? The Trump policy is that I hate the left. That's basically it.
But nevertheless, the establishment Republicans are defeated and humiliated, and I love it. Okay,
I think they are. Cenk. Marco Rubio is Secretary of State.
That is true. That is true. I think Cristo is like. I hate to say that. I think Cristo is more clear eye on what's going on here. But I also think Jake is not really saying. I think Jake has to. You know what's going on, Jake? Jake has to sit down and think about carefully what he's fighting for. What is he saying? He has to be careful. You're not saying that you're going to get more out of the Republican. I don't think you're saying that. You're saying that maybe, and I told my friend that I think Trump might surprise us in some point. I think that's what he's saying, and I think he has to work it back and be more careful. Like, don't say that you're going to get more out of Trump. You expect more from Trump. I'm more optimistic. No, don't say you're more optimistic. Just say that, hey, the way that I saw Trump as a total death knell to everything going on, I think Trump administration might be a little bit better than what we actually believe. I don't think it's going to be better than Democratic than Kamala, but I think he'll probably be better, and he might surprise us. And that's all I gotta say. But it could be a little bit better than what we expect. We think like it's going to be totally terrible, but it might not be, because we might be able to get left-wing populist agenda that we might not be able to get on the left. You know what I'm saying? I think so. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can call me Storm. How you feel about it? Oh shit! I can't believe this. I'm wasting time. So Trump believed, Cenk believed that Trump has a better chance to pass paid family leave than the Democrat, than the Democrat. So he believes in Trump might do things that are surprising. That's basically what the Cenk message is. He thinks like Trump is a little bit more flexible than the Democrat on some issues. But he doesn't think like Trump is more favorable, and probably the next election he's not going to vote for Republican. He's going to still vote for Democrat, but he think like Trump is an oddball. He's not like Marco Rubio or Mitch McConnell or Mitt Romney. He's a Republican that's not a real Republican, and he's a celebrity. He's a movie star. It's those kind of guys. So it's like, as long as you like him, he might do the things that you want. That's basically what Cenk Hugo is saying. Which is kind of true, guys. Which is kind of true. You got to give him credit for that. Like, Cenk, like Trump is like, there's something about Trump that's like 20%, 25% that's like, he wants to be loved. And he's willing to do a couple of things to be loved.
Right? So the fact that they know that they can just introduce it and have it pass, and they won't do it anyway, shows you they are hopeless. They are 100% donor-driven, and every once in a while, release valve. Okay, so on the pressure. But on the Republican side, if you convince Donald Trump that paid family leave will make him more popular, he'll do it overnight. Because he doesn't care about Mitch McConnell.
There's right-wing ideologues around. I mean, this is the thing. It's
I know there's ideologues, but then what are you going to do? Give up hope?
You just can't. No, but you have to be.
And then let's talk about the Pentagon.
No, but let's talk about the Pentagon, because I do think that's an interesting point of conversation. If I look at how many Democrats support the PRO Act and how many Republicans, if I look at how
yes, and what Crystal is saying is true. Of course, the Republicans are still the worst. You cannot make a case for the Republicans with what the text that I don't understand who Cenk is. Cenk is desperate for water and attention. It's like you cannot make a case just because Donald Trump Jr. texts you on the Twitter before the election. This could be something of a plot, and you got to be careful. I think Cenk is being too negligent here.
How many Democrats support paid family leave and how many Republicans? I'm not saying the Democrats are great, but I am saying that release valve is vastly superior to, with Trump, you're going to get some level of extremely cruel border policy, which is going to cause unbelievable pain to a number of people. You are going to probably get West Bank annexation and more brutality in the Middle East. And so I just can't sort of, I'll have a hope and a prayer that maybe something positive will come out somewhere. Like, I'm just clear-eyed about, I think there's going to be a lot of pain and cruelty and unnecessary suffering caused by this administration. So that's what.
On the border, cool and but we can say that you can be cool to the people that live in the country too. That's why I'm a little bit different at the left. Like, I think building the wall is okay, but the deportation, we don't need that. But building the wall is a good idea. I really like that idea.
That's why it's hard for me to relate to like a sense of optimism about the possibility. Even as, again, I'm all for a good horseshoe. If there's an issue, Bernie Sanders has done this also, working with, I think, Josh Hawley on stimulus checks. Like, do it, great, get what you can, but also like I said before, I think what's likely to happen, the most likely outcome is just things are going to get overall worse. And that's where I am.
Look, I don't know how many times I can repeat it before people believe me. I know Donald Trump has done terrible things in the past. That's why I fought tooth and nail against them in all of the elections. Right?
Yeah.
I know what is more likely. I know how awful the Republicans have been in the past.
Right.
Okay, the only point of disagreement is I think some of those right-wing voters are not as horrific as you think they are.
Oh, I don't think the voters are horrific. I don't think that at all. I think that there is no track record of them, constraining Donald Trump, holding him to account.
You got to be careful, Crystal. This is where Cenk is right. The voters are brand new right now. Those are brand new voters. It's almost like some of those voters came into the Trump team maybe a couple of months. So we haven't seen their resume yet. And they've been added as they go. I mean, there's a couple of guys that I know that I suppose the Trump voters that was 2016. Those guys, you cannot trust those guys. The guys that you gotta be aware. The real dudes are the dudes that are like, I like you, Trump, not because I'm like you my boyfriend. I like you because of your policy. Like, what I'm saying? There are those voters that are like that. Like, you saying that like all the voters you're just gonna kiss his ass. I don't think they are like that. I don't think all of them are gonna kiss his ass. I think that's what Cenk is saying.
He has become the central figure in the Republican Party. And, however he wants to spin things, whatever case he wants to make, what I have seen is people consistently, even in this era, even with new parts of the coalition, et cetera, I have seen them fall in line. And that's where the RFK Jr. and the Tulsi example comes in.
I get it. So if I said to you, who is more likely to cut the Pentagon? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or Donald Trump?
None.
Okay.
I mean, Donald Trump increased the defense budget every year that he was in office.
Of course, and he bragged about it.
Yes.
Okay. So I agree that none of them are likely to cut it. But with Trump, because of his right-wing base and his desire for popularity, I have it at possible. With Biden and Harris, it had a 0% chance because they work for the goddamn donors. They would never cut the military.
So does Trump.
Like,
Trump.
Yeah.
Cenk,
So look,
he went to oil
I know, but
executives
his
and was
base
like,
does
give me
it.
$1 billion and I'll do whatever
Crystal.
you want me to do.
Crystal, you don't have to convince me of that.
Totally flipped on crypto. You know,
Crypto's going to be a disaster. You don't have to convince me of that. But here's, let me see if I can break through one last time.
Okay.
So if Biden said, if Kamala Harris had won and she developed a conscience, which is nearly impossible, and said, you know what, this Pentagon is bloated. Look at all this fraud and abuse. They can't find $400 billion. That's it. I'm cutting $200 billion from the Pentagon. Even if she had done that, which had a 0% chance, the Democrats would have stopped her. Not just the Republicans, but the Democrats would have found a way to stop her and not allow her to cut the Pentagon. So there was no hope at all, a black hole of hope, okay? With Trump, if the Republicans go to stop him, if he goes to cut the Pentagon, they won't be able to. If Mitch McConnell goes and Rick Scott goes, you won't cut the Pentagon, Trump will be like, what did you say, bitch? Okay, I mean, Mitch. Okay, right? And Mitch McConnell will be like, oh, I'm so sorry, we're cutting the Pentagon, everybody, we're cutting the Pentagon. Because Trump has them bullied. That is another advantage of Trump, that he could bully the establishment,
so
the grotesque establishment.
So his sort of authoritarian tendencies, jiu-jitsu move, end up being a benefit. It's your position. We will see. I do want to just...
In that situation, what Jake is saying is a little bit true. He has a little bit of bullying. He has a little bit of bully tactic that can work in some situation. And it's very strong, and then nobody can stop him. Like when he wants to be the bully, and nobody in the Republican Party can stop him when something is good for the country. Like whatever Trump wants, the Republican Party gonna give it to him. That's true. That is a fact about that. But that's an interesting conversation.
Just quickly, because we've already gone on a long time, I don't want to keep you too long. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Elon thing, and we can put up the Bernie Sanders tweet. You would like reach out to Elon, like, hey, I'll help you cut the Pentagon budget if you're serious about this. Bernie Sanders says something similar. Elon Musk is right. The Pentagon just failed its 7th audit. That must change. Blah blah blah. Obviously, I would like to see the Pentagon's budget cut. I will tell you, like I said, I am all for working with the elected representatives, as Bernie has done in the past with Josh Hawley and others on areas of agreement. Totally fine with. Maybe my core litmus test, and you and I were talking about this before, like if I was to design the Democratic Party from scratch, the litmus test would all be around economics, and there would be a larger tent around cultural issues, even as I personally have mostly lefty issues on positions on cultural issues. But pretty core litmus test for me is we shouldn't be allowing unelected billionaires to effectively run the government. And so on this particular issue, I do come down in a different place than you, because I think this project of giving Elon Musk, richest man on the planet, one of the Pentagon's largest contractors, who's embroiled in all sorts of regulatory disputes around labor violations and environmental degradation and SEC violations, giving him carte blanche to remake the government however he wants to, like just out of principle, I think that's a project overall that should be opposed.
Yeah, so totally agree, but that's not where we are. So let's talk about the agreement, and then let's talk about what to do going forward. Okay. So this is what I told Republicans and the right-wing voters and the independents before the election. Look, Donald Trump openly brags about his corruption. He goes, I used to be against electric vehicles, but then Elon gave me a very strong endorsement.
Right, so here we are, yeah.
I'm like, you just admitted that you are the swamp, right? And he brags about, Sheldon Adelson gave me a strong endorsement back in 2016 and 2020. That means $100 million in both races, right? Yep. So he said, so I moved the embassy for him. You just admitted that you gave U.S. foreign policy to a donor. And he's now done that with Miriam Adelson. He's saying, oh yeah, I'll start any war Israel wants because Miriam gave me $137 million.
Yep.
On TikTok, he was even more brazen. He was like, I was against TikTok, tried to get a ban, but Jeff Yass gave me a strong endorsement.
That's right. Crypto, same deal.
Yeah, and so now I'm for TikTok, right? So he admits his corruption in spectacular fashion. It's unbelievable. Would I allow Elon Musk in an ideal world to basically have power over at least half the government just because he's one of the top donors to Donald Trump? No, I don't want billionaire donors in charge of the government, right? So that is clear and obvious. And I hope one day right-wing populists finally realize, maybe billionaire donors aren't our friends. Maybe that they're rigging the rules not to our benefit, but to their benefit, right? And so I understand and stipulate to all that. But nevertheless, Trump won, and here's Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are going to be in charge of this. Who are going to be in charge of this department, whatever the hell this department is, which is really the whole government, right?
Right, that's right.
And so I say half the government, but it's not. It's the whole government. And so how do I make the best of it? Well, we've always wanted to cut the Pentagon, right? So if they're looking to make cuts, I suggest the idea of cutting the Pentagon. Now, normally that's where it would end, especially if I said that to Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, they'd be like, get out of here, you loser, online media, populist loser.
They wouldn't
no way,
notice.
no way, right?
Biden doesn't know how to log into Twitter.
Yeah, so they'd be like, no way. They'd go and give a general a handy. That's and be like, oh no, don't worry, General, don't worry. Joe Biden's here to protect you, right? And so would Mitch McConnell, so would every dirtbag Republican, right? So, but here Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. said, maybe we do that, right? Maybe we do. Then I suggested a conflict of interest rule where the generals can't be go work for defense contractors after.
But this is where Cenk gotta be scared. This is Donald Trump Jr. It wasn't Donald Trump. So I don't know. And Donald Trump Jr. is not an elected official. So we gotta be careful with this. This was not from an elected official. It has to be from an elected official for it to be valid. It wasn't from an elected official. This is just from Donald Trump Jr. So I don't understand why Cenk is so excited about this, but I don't know.
Our benefit, but to their benefit, right? So I understand and stipulate to all that. But nevertheless, Trump won, and here's Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are going to be in charge of this. Who are going to be in charge of this department, whatever the hell this department is, which is really the whole government, right?
Right, that's right.
And so I say half the government, but it's not. It's the whole government. And so how do I make the best of it? Well, we've always wanted to cut the Pentagon, right? So if they're looking to make cuts, I suggest the idea of cutting the Pentagon. Now, normally that's where it would end. Especially if I said that to Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, they'd be like, get out of here, you loser, online media, populist loser.
They wouldn't
No
even
way,
notice.
no way, right?
Biden doesn't know how to log into Twitter.
Yeah, so they'd be like, no way. They'd go and give a general a handy. That's and be like, oh no, don't worry, General, don't worry. Joe Biden's here to protect you, right? And so would Mitch McConnell, so would every dirtbag Republican, right? So, but here Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. said, maybe we do that, right? Maybe we do. Then I suggested a conflict of interest rule where the generals can't be go work for defense contractors afterwards.
But both Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. are not elected officials. This could be like a freaking sneaky thing from the Trump administration.
Right, and why did Elon, this is the important part I'm trying to get through to you guys.
Yeah.
Why did Elon and Donald Trump Jr. go, all right, Cenk, attaboy? Not a thing they would normally say.
Because they like saying, even lefty Cenk Uygur agrees with the Department of Government Efficiency. That's why.
So, Crystal, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Wow. I think Crystal got a good point there. So look at this. Even the lefty crazy populist, because it does look good on the media that you put it on Twitter, that, hey, even the lefty agrees with us. You see, guys, come on board. And that will attract more people. Crystal is right about this. Okay, that was a great interview from Crystal. Very sharp, very sharp. I like it.
I understand that that's part of their motivation.
Yeah.
But the main motivation was not that. The main motivation is because on X, they could see all of their base going, yes.
Because their base also
because their base.
Like even lefty Cenk Uygur is on board with the Department of Government Efficiency. Like, I understand where you're coming from. I understand where Bernie's coming from of like, listen, this is the world and we have to deal with it and we're going to get what we can get. If you're talking about an elected representative, I am 100% on board with all of that. With this specific project, I think it's dangerous to normalize giving billionaires this level of control over the government. And your willingness to engage with it, which again, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not saying like you're bad or evil or like whatever for doing it. But I think this level of engagement gives this project of total billionaire control over the federal government a sense of bipartisan legitimacy and creates the appearance that genuinely beneficial things are going to come out of it, when I do not think that genuinely beneficial things are going to come out of it overall, even if there are things that they cut that you and I would be like, okay, that's fine that they cut that. Because look, Elon Musk, he is himself one of the largest Pentagon contractors. He has all of these massive conflicts of interest. This is a project like any normal like Koch brothers type right-wing project to strip the capability of the government so that it's less able to regulate and constrain robber barons like Elon Musk or any other of the billionaire class that has rigged the economy. And so that's why in this specific instance, I think it's more important to just oppose the project outright and try to explain to people why this is a really pernicious development in our nation's history versus giving it some credibility by being, oh, look, they might do some good things and they might work with me on this or that proposal.
So totally agree, totally disagree.
Okay.
The part I agree on is, yeah, it's a pernicious project. I don't want to validate billionaires running the government, donors running the government. That was the problem with the establishment in the first place, right? And yes, Elon Musk has enormous conflicts of interest, not just with the Pentagon. He wants to get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Why? Because they're the cops on Wall Street.
And the NLRB.
And why do they want to get rid of that? Because it serves his billionaire interests, right?
Wow, Elon Musk has a lot of like trash in his thing, man, in his closet. There's a lot of skeleton in Elon Musk's closet. He's doing a lot of stuff that are against the people. I don't know what we should do with a guy like him, man. But maybe that's what we need to do in order to get to Mars. Guys, have a good day. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to finish it another time, guys. Thank you.